Hello, Mr. Randy Duck, and welcome back for another video. Today I've got 3 replays to show you in the brand new Tier 8 German premium tank, medium tank, which come out today, the Wind of Arrakis. Now this is the licensed vehicle for the June movies. It was released today, and what I'm going to do, I've got a few replays to show you in the tank today. But before we get into that, I'm just going to talk about the tank and a few of the statistics and what I think about the tank. And then we'll get into head to the replays and you can see what the tank can do. So, what do I think of this tank? Well, the first thing I'm going to talk about is the visual of this tank. I think this tank model looks really nice and quite impressive. And the actual design of the visual aspects of the tank is really nice. It does have a unique feature where when this tank gets shot, if you've ever watched any of the movies, the June movies, you get a shield and the tank, you'll basically go blue when something hits you to sort of protect you. And this tank actually has that feature. So when someone actually shoots at this tank, when they hit you, it will go blue and you'll see sort of a shield effect. Now that is just a visual effect. It doesn't affect anything to do with the game. It's not actually a shield. But it is quite a nice feature if you're into that sort of thing. But let's just get into the actual tank and what the tank is about. So it's a mobile medium with 55 kilometers an hour, which you do get to that top speed quite nicely, and you are able to get across the map really well. You have decent concealment. I think I've got the concealment down to about 283 with this setup, which you will see at the start of the video. And yeah, it has a 400 alpha gun, which is probably one of the highlights of the tank, with 230 penetration on the standard AP rounds with 1,150 shell velocity, which is decent for standard AP rounds. You then have 300 penetration on your heat rounds with 950 shell velocity. And there's not really going to be a lot of tanks with that decent penetration you're going to struggle to penetrate. So that is a good positive about the tank. But here's the negative, and here's why I do find this tank a little bit frustrating. It has a siege mode. So this tank only has 5 degrees of gun depression, but it has an automatic siege mode. So when you go sort of below 15 kilometers an hour, it will engage that siege mode and give you 9 degrees of gun depression, which is nice. But the problem with this siege mode for me is very awkward to use. Like it means you have to sort of aim your shot for a little bit longer. You can't just snap them shots in. You have to sort of wait, and to trade that off for 9 degrees of gun depression doesn't really feel worth it. Like, I feel like if this tank just had 9 degrees of gun depression, it'd be a lot better without having to have that siege mode. And that does hinder the tank, and it does hinder the enjoyment for me of the tank. But having said that, it does still have quite a lot of positive. I do still like the mobility of the tank. I do like the speed of the tank. I do like the gun. But the siege mode for me is just kind of like, it lets it down somewhat. But that's enough of me rambling on. I'm sure you're bored of that. Let's just get into the replays and we can see what this tank can do. Okay, so here we are for the first replay on Malavonka. If you want to see my setup, you should see that at the bottom of the screen right now. Now what I've got for you today is 3 replays. This is the first of the 3 where we're tier 8 matchmaking, and we go on to have sort of an average game, well, a good to average game in the tier 8 tank. We then got the same for tier 10 matchmaking in the second replay, and then the final replay we've got a more, a bigger, decent game. But I wanted to give you a bit of balance for the tank review. So here we are on Malavanka. Initially I'm going to just push to this position I am right now, and already a TD has played, a striker has played very aggressively, and probably not the best thing to do in a tank like that, a very stealthy tank destroyer. It has sort of, I do want this tank to die though now, because the way he's pushing up, he's going to potentially keep us proxy spotted. But he's kind of just throwing his tank away, and thankfully for us, we trap him in place and we pick up a bit of resistance damage. And more importantly, we've got rid of that tank. I want to quickly take care of this medium tank on the left, just to stop him detecting anyone. So we put in the shot there, picking up our first kill of the game and picking up 800 damage. And now we're already 2 tanks up. So now those threat of those tanks have been destroyed, I kind of feel like I may be able to start to push up and get underneath their ridge, which would be good for me to be able to pressure the hill, or tanks on the hill. We get a shot into that light tank before we move, but unfortunately we bounce just a little bit unlucky or unfortunate that we didn't get a penetration shot there. But it is what it is. It's still a close game, but I feel like we've had a decent start. I've not lost any hit points. We've got rid of some dangerous tanks. And now I'm able to get to this position for free. And this is going to allow me to light the hill, which could potentially give me some assistance. So you can see here, to get that 9 degrees of gun depression, you do have to slow down somewhat. And you just have to take that little bit extra time to aim your shot sometimes, while the siege mode just adjusts a little bit. And that just, for me, it slows me down getting the damage in. Like I can't do those quick poke shots, which I find a bit annoying. I'm just poking here just to get vision, just so I can try and pick up some assistance and detect some of the tanks. But I have got to be careful or aware of the fact that there is enemy tanks on the hill. Now this tier 8 heavy tank is a 3-shot autoloader, and he has got full send all in his eyes. And I can see that he's just thinking, right, I'm just going to full send you here. So I'm just going to pull back because I don't want to get clipped out by this tank. I just don't want him to give him any easy damage. I want him to push him to a gun line like he just has, and now he's lost some of, majority of his hit points. I am now getting shot in the rear, so I have got to go in, but I already know this tank has shot probably all of its clip, or if not the majority of it. He has clipped out, he rams me, but this tank's fairly heavy actually, and when tanks do ram you, they actually take quite a lot of damage, so it's worked out okay. We've got rid of another tank. We've picked up about sort of 1600 damage and just over 1000 assistance, now up to 2000 damage. And I feel like we're taking a lot of control of this game, because the enemy team are pretty much trapped on the hill. So they've got a decision that they either stay on that hill or they come off, and then hopefully we can try and get some shots. I'd like to get closer towards them if possible, so I could try and get some more damage in. I'm thinking about climbing and going this way, but I get detected as I try and do that, and I decide, you know what, that's a barrage. That's not really a good idea. So I'm going to pull back because I've just got a hunch that the enemy team are going to start coming off of the hill towards our base. And I'm going to try and put myself in a position to prevent that, or at least spot that and try and get some damage in. Because at this stage we had a decent start to this game. We've got 2000 damage, 1200 assistance and 2 kills. But there's only 6 enemy tanks remaining, and I don't feel like this game is going to go on for that much longer. So I want to try and get in a position to get as much out of this game as I can. The 400 alpha gun on this tank is nice. I mean, you've got a fairly long reload, like just over 10 seconds. But, it is 400 alpha at tier 8 on the tier 8 medium. But, so it is nice. It is nice to sort of just... You do feel like you're hurting those tanks when you've got that sort of alpha. Enemy Barras is pushed round. I don't want to really eat the 2 shelters of the Barras at the moment, because I know there's tanks on the hill looking to shoot me. So I just got to stay a little bit patient. I feel like this enemy heavy tank is going to get taken out. He does get taken out by our friendly artillery. So now I've just got the Barras on my right hand side and some tanks on the hill. Managed to get a nice shot into that tier 6 heavy tank there, putting them onto a 1-shot. The Barras is on the right looking to shoot me, but I'm just trying to get some damage out of this game. There's only 3 tanks left. The Barras is a bit of a problem because he's probably at any point going to poke and put 2 shots into me. But I've got to try and get some damage in. I don't want the Barras to stop me pulling my trigger really to try and get any more out of this. As well as the fact I want to keep the stuff on the hill detected. Now the Barras has shot both shots into me. We made the decision just to trade, well, just to get a shot in because I didn't feel like I was going to get out of there. The Barras is now on reload. He has left me on a 1-shot. But at least we know he's reloading for 20 odd seconds, so we've got a little bit of time to try and get some damage, but it's probably not going to be that long, and he's going to be off a reload now. So I'm just going to wait because I've just got a feeling that he might push out and I can get some shots. I've got to be careful because he's on reload and he does poke out, and I just, well, obviously not paying attention for a second there. But now the Barras has just fired another 2 shots there. So again, he's on reload. It's only 3 tanks. I'm just going to try and move up to get some more damage. Both the tanks on the hill get taken out. It's just this enemy Barras. Now I can just move in and try and finish this Barras off. And yeah, we should be able to pick up a kill here with a bit of luck and try and get a bit more damage. So coming around, the Barras is obviously not paying attention to herself. We do pick up a final kill, and that brings us then to the first replay of the video, where we get, I think, 4 kills, 3,100 damage, 1,600 assistance. So yeah, not a bad game to get off to start with, and then we'll move on now to the tier 10 game before yeah, I'll stop rambling and I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so here we are for the second replay of the video. This time it is tier 10 lobby. There's no artillery and there is one enemy light tank. It's an assault variant of 7 Groska, which is a little bit weird variant. The assault mode, basically the enemy team have got to attack us and we've just got to defend the base. But I'm just going to try and push up into a position where I think I'm going to get some damage early on. Because I suspect there will be a few tanks come this way and maybe a few tanks go down the 1-2 line. But I can always pull back and defend the 1-2 line later. I just want to try and work out how much tanks are going this way at the start. Just get a bit of information really, and then we can go from there. So I'm pushing forward just to try and spot some tanks, get a little bit of intel for our team. There is an enemy tier 10 Jaeger E100 coming for us. Naturally, I don't want to get shot by that tank because it will take away pretty much all of my hit points, so that is not a tank I want to be in a brawl for. Enemy pattern comes around, the tier 8 pattern gets a shot into us, but we do manage to trade that one out. That's the nice thing about the 400 alpha, like you can trade tanks out with those sort of tier 8 damage in guns when they've only got sort of 240 alpha, etc. And now I'm just waiting. I can't poke all the way around the corner because of that Jaeger, but also I'm not concerned really with the Jaeger 100 getting a shot into us because it'd have to come all the way around. He doesn't have a turret and I'd probably be able to track him in place. We get a nice shot into that T-55A tier 9 medium tank, but that medium tank looks like he is just coming full round on us. Now this tank, you notice I have bounced a couple of shots now. Now this tank, I probably forgot to mention, it doesn't actually have any armour. Like the armour values are very, very low. But what it does have is very weird angles, which can quite often create sort of an auto ricocheted angle. And you can bounce a few shells in this tank. But it's not a tank by all means that you should be relying on the armour, because it doesn't really have any. It's just it's got those weird angles and sometimes you can bounce some shells. So I'm pulling back round now to help this other side. We managed to get our first kill of the game and picking up 2,000 damage and about 1,000 track assistance, which is quite nice. And hopefully we can try and get some more damage in this position here. There is, I think, a T10 and an enemy Lover here, so we've got to be a little bit careful because obviously the T10 can take away our hit points very, very quickly. He has fired. We tried to get a shot into him. We actually track him in place and pick up some more track assistance there, putting us onto about 1,200 track assistance, and also taking away some of the hit points off that T10. Lover comes around. We do try and track him through the drive wheel, but we do sort of trade 1 for 1 there, putting us down to about 745 hit points, which is not ideal. But we just got to keep battling. I'm just having a quick look to check the hit points of my friendly tanks with me. We do have a pretty much full health Murat and a heavy tank with us, so if they can just push forward and we can try and eat the shots like together. I missed the lower plate in that T-pen, but we do track them again in place when we pick up some more track assistance. Shame we didn't pen it though. Would have liked to have got the pen. Lover comes around and gets put on a 1 shot. I'm going to see if I can get the finish from that Lover, but I can't quite get that finish in with the T10 there. We do manage to finally pen the T10 though, putting us under 2,600 damage and 1,700 assistance now, which is pretty good for the, like I say, tier 10 matchmaking. But it looks like an enemy Tortoise is now moving into position. Now the Tortoise, being, yes, it's a slow tank, but when it gets in these sort of brawl scenarios, it's filthy because it has an absolute filthy gun. And the DPM is insane, and he can probably kill us in 2 shots. So we've got to be very, very careful. He does shoot. We're going to try and aim one in through the cupola. We do manage to get the cupola in, but the T10 has such a good reload. It did manage to put a shot back into us. We're going to hopefully. I just need my teammates to just eat a shell so we can finish him off now. I don't really want to eat another shot if I can help it. Should have the kill on the cupola. Unfortunately, it just doesn't pen. And that brings us then pretty much won this side now. And there's only 2 tanks left. They're on the other side. I'm going to try and get there. But I kind of think I'm probably not going to make it. But I've got to head there just in case. We've had a pretty decent game for tier 10 matchmaking. We did get 3,000 damage, 1,700 assistance. And we actually blocked 920 damage. Which is, like I say, this tank doesn't have armour. But it does have those weird angles where you can bounce. Now the mobility of this tank is nice. It is a good feature about the tank. You can see here I don't really struggle to get to that 55 kilometers an hour, and you can get across the map really well. And the general movement of the tank I find nice. It's just that siege mode, like that automatic siege mode, just really lets the tank down. I think because of the model of the tank is why it needed the siege mode. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to get any gun depression. Like 5 degrees just wouldn't be enough. But for me, I think if you're going to make a tank have the siege mode, automatic siege mode, then at least give it like 11 degrees of gun depression with the siege mode activated. Something to, you know, make that automatic siege mode worth having. Because at the moment it's just a hindrance really, and it just lets the tank down, makes the enjoyment of the tank just not as good, basically. But having said all those things, I do still quite like the tank. It definitely still has some qualities which makes the tank fun. It's just it really, just for me, gets let down by that siege mode. That is it for the second replay in the tier 10 matchmaking, and we'll go on now to have a final replay, which is one where we obviously have a bigger game. Okay, so here we are for the final replay then on Arctic region, which is a pretty good map for this tank. We are top tier, quite heavily top tier, and there's 1 enemy artillery in the game, but the problem is there's 5 enemy light tanks, which really isn't ideal because we are heavily top tier for 1, but there's going to be less hit points in the game, so you're not going to be able to get as much damage, and also it's just going to be a pain fighting 5 lights. You know, 5 lights is just, it can be a nightmare because you just know how the light drivers sometimes are, just full sending everywhere, and it can be a little bit carnage at times. So initially I'm going to push into a position where I can try and get some shots into the cross, see what happens, see what goes this way, and then we may need to adjust and rethink later. But I wanted to see if we can get any early shots in as we get at the start. E25 gets spotted, and then this heavy tank gets spotted crossing. I want to try and get a shot into this heavy tank if I can. I wait for our friendly light tank to get out of the way, and I do put 1 shell in. He's probably going to get across before we're able to get a second shot in, and to be honest, the heavy tank didn't really take that much punishment. I think I was the only one to put any punishing shells into him. And now this E25 gets poked up. We do snap that shot, and we get fortunate that hits. I mean, the accuracy, to be fair, to this tank is actually pretty nice. That's why I don't run stabs. Like, it feels like it does hit its shots. It's just the siege mode which makes it feel a little bit awkward at times, but the actual accuracy is okay, and that's why I can get away with not having the stabs and run the concealment net instead. So I'm having a little think of what to do next, and I'm thinking about actually doing quite an aggressive play here, because I don't think there's a lot on the left. It's only like a couple of tanks, and I felt like, yeah, I don't know who's going to win the right hand side, so I'll try an aggressive decision right now to push forward and actually try and light these tanks for myself. We do spot a Chrysler K heavy tank at the spawn and an enemy light tank, but at least now I have these tanks in a position where I can keep them detected. It gives us an opportunity, 1, for our artillery to hit them, or any of our tanks covering to have shots in. Looking for a shot into lower plate of the Chrysler K, wasn't quite able to land it. I've got to be careful. I'm just keeping an eye on which can shoot us. I know there's an Inferno directly in front of us, which we've got to be careful of. We've got the Chrysler K, and when we've got some tanks up the top of this hill, which I'm trying to finish off if possible. Wasn't able to get that shot in there because we are starting to lose the game. It's close, but we are starting to go down on tanks, so I need to just try and find a way to get some damage out of this game. We get a shell into that Chrysler K, which is good, putting us on to about 1500 damage. I'm in a position where at least I'm able to fight tanks right now. I'm just going to try and get as many shots as I can into this, these tanks here. If we can get rid of these tanks, I can make a decision whether I need to go back and defend the base, because I've got a feeling I may need to do so, because our enemy team have pushed all the way across down the ice road at the bottom, which means our tanks in the base are no longer going to be safe. Get a second shot into that Chrysler K. We don't actually get it detected. You can see I keep looking over my shoulder just to make sure that no one has any shots onto us like that. Enemy light tank manages to cross into position. Looking to try and get a shot into that Tiger P, but don't quite have the shot. But light tank pulls forward and we get a shot into light tank. That was a big kill there, our first kill. But it takes out the tier 8 light tank, and that's important because the light tanks are very, very dangerous on a map like this. But we are starting to lose. You see, we're 3 tanks down now, and I feel like our base is not in a strong position. We've got this Tiger P, which is pushing us, which, to be honest, is good. I want him to just full send into us if possible, because then we could be able to pick up the kill without having to fight the other Chrysler K tank and just get rid of a tank out of the game, so I can try and get out of this position now, because I feel like I need to get back to my base. I was hoping that Tiger P was going to carry on pushing around. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. He pushes forward. He actually does get his shot into us, and then we make sure we out-trade him there, putting one into lower plate, putting us onto 3,000 damage and 8 kills, and also putting the Tiger P onto a one-shot. He's going to come around on us here, so we're going to wait, go through that driver, which we can pen straight through and pick up the kill there, putting us onto 3,000 damage and 1 kill. Now, at this point, I'm thinking, do I push and kill the one-shot Chrysler K, or do I go back to the base? And I've decided I'm going to go back to the base, just because I don't want to get caught out and capped out. As much as I'd like to kill this Chrysler K, I'm just concerned that if I left it too late, I could potentially get capped out and lose the game that way. Don't really want that to happen. We are now down to 3 versus 7 though, which is not great. Might be able to squeeze a shot into that Chrysler K though, which is good, putting us onto about 4,000 damage and picking up a 3rd kill. And that, yeah, very, very nice as well, because now we can push forward without fear of that Chrysler K shooting us in the rear. The enemy team aren't actually capping out, which is interesting. But when as we get spotted crossing, it's by an enemy Hellcat 105. He puts a shot into us. We have put return fire and put him onto a one-shot. He will actually out-reload me, this Hellcat 105, but he misses his shot here. And we're hoping to try and finish him off. Now, the Hellcat probably should stay safe behind that rock, but he hasn't done so. He's poked up, and thankfully he did, because just as I managed to kill that tank, I've now got an Inferno coming around behind us, so it's very, very handy. He then rams us and ends up losing his tank for it, but it puts us on to 5 kills, 4,200 damage, and into now a 3 versus 2. Enemy artillery is trying to shoot us. We need to pull back and get away from there. We're just against I think a tier 8 French wheelie boy light tank now, and enemy artillery. I don't know how many hit points the light tank has right now, nor the artillery piece, but I suspect the artillery is probably full. We do actually have an opportunity to pick up a Top Gun, and even a Devastator we're able to get 2 more shots out of this game. So we're going to try and come around and see if we can use this ridge on the right. That light tank will be semi-trapped by the tanks advancing him, so maybe we can try and create an angle to try and stop this light tank escaping. But as I push round, an enemy artillery is coming. My shot derps and misses. I'm thinking this is going to be it, because I feel like the artillery is just going to keep pushing into us, but for some reason he doesn't, and he stops, and that's fantastic. It's allowed me to reload. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait, because this enemy light tank's coming in, and I've got a feeling that light tank's just coming for me. I don't want to be on reload, because I don't have enough hit points. I need to kill this light tank, which I managed to do. Thankfully that shot hits, picking up the Top Gun, and now I can deal with just this artillery. I'm pulling back to make that artillery have to come into us. He's getting shot by the heavy tank, so he has to now come round. I've loaded a HE shell. I don't need a HE shell because he got shot, but I didn't realise, and I don't actually pen it. But thankfully I get away with it, and I don't get taken out by artillery. I now should be able to beat his reload, and I should be no way of me fluffing this. And we pick up the 7th kill, bring this end to the replay and the video. So we finished that game off quite strongly with 7 kills, picking up the Devastator, 5,000 damage. It's only the 3rd class, but that's mainly because we were heavily top tier and the tanks just come out, so the actual XP set isn't set yet. But yeah, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure you like and subscribe. It does very much help. But yeah, in summary, do I like this tank? Yes, I do like the tank. It has some good features: mobility, concealment, 400 alpha. But the siege mode really lets it down, and that for me hinders the tank's performance quite a lot. But yeah, that's it for the replay. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, happy tanking.